everyone. Welcome to Wednesday Stash, where I share ways to help you keep your food for longer. Um, I'm hoping you're having a great Wednesday so far. It's getting warm again out there. We had some rain; it cooled things down for a very short period of time. But I'm glad you decided to take some time and join me Wednesday Stash. Um, we're going to talk about fruit leathers today, but before we get started, I wanted to go back to something we've made 2 weeks ago. So we started the sauerkraut. I don't know if anyone else has started their sauerkraut or if they're working on it, but again, please let me encourage you. Share, please drop pictures in and let's see what you're doing. Okay? So let's take a look. So far, so good. I know I had told you before that for making sauerkraut, it takes about 3 to 6 weeks. It depends, and a lot of it's going to depend on temperature, because ideal temperature is going to be around 72 degrees. 70 degrees where we're comfortable, and if it's cooler than that, I had shared that it was going to take longer. But if it's warmer than that, it might go quicker. And if you're over 85 degrees, it's a wild card. It's probably going to spoil before it has a chance to ferment. So you want to control the temperature. Now, this has been in. We started this 2 weeks ago on Wednesday, and it looks great. It tastes good. And we're actually going to use this. I plan on using some. I don't know how much it'll go through, but there's not going to be that many of us here for 4th of July. Just my husband, my kids, and my mom. But we're going to eat some of this for the 4th of July. I've tasted it. It tastes good. I'm not ready to put it in the refrigerator yet because I still want it to develop some more. But as far as it having a good flavor, it has a really, really good flavor. I haven't had any problems or issues with it. One of the things that I have had to do 3 times is that I've had some kind of little growth, but it's always been around the outside, at the very top on the outside. So what I do is I just clean. I use the damp paper towel, and I just wipe all of the yeast growth from the top layer, get rid of that, and if I had anything, I really haven't had anything on top. I saw I thought I saw a couple of things, so I would just get rid of that as well. But as it smells wonderful, it smells like sauerkraut. It's doing really, really well. So we're gonna have sauerkraut for 4th of July. Now I see who's joined us so far. Julie said the sauerkraut is looking good. Julie, I saw pictures of your sauerkraut. Yours is looking good too. I know yours. You just started it out. So please, please, please share pictures. You put your pictures on your page. Just link back to this page and let us see. Let everybody get a chance to take a look and see how your sauerkraut's doing. Hi, Janet. You remember when we did this? Came out to visit and we made all that sauerkraut. So I'm hoping you'll start another batch as well. So let's go ahead and put this away and cover what we're going to talk about today, which is the fruit leathers. All right, so let's see. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of a review first before we go in, because we last week we dried the herbs, and I didn't see any pictures of anyone who's dried herbs also. But if you're doing that as well, any of the methods, whether you used a dehydrator, if you tried it in the microwave, if you hung to dry, just go ahead and share your pictures and let us know how it's going. We're spending 3 weeks talking about dehydration, so deep drying foods. So last week we did drying herbs. Today we're going to talk about doing apple butter, and this I'm sorry, we did drying herbs. We're going to talk about fruit leathers, and then we have other topics that are coming up. So you want to keep coming back on Wednesday to see the different things that get dried. But for a little review, Dehydration removes the moisture from the food. Removing the moisture prevents bacteria, yeast, and mold growth. Now, commonly dried food, nuts, lean meat, as in jerky. People love making jerky. I think that's probably one of the most popular dried foods. It's probably jerky. And fruit leathers are extremely popular. So I'm going to give you let you see some of the things that I did with fruit leathers. I've made these a few times. Super, super fun, easy, and it's a great way to start drying. Okay? So some foods cannot, I do want to point out, some foods cannot be safely dried at home. You can't dry everything. So cheese, yogurt, poultry and eggs, those are not things that you can dry at home. And we know about the different methods of dehydrating. Now, you can, for the fruit leathers, you can use the dehydrator. You can use the oven. The oven works, and I know with the herbs, we said don't dry in the oven, and that's because you lose the flavor with oven drying, and then also the oils that give the herbs the flavor, you'll dry the herbs, they won't have any the flavor because that's destroyed during the oven drying process also. So that's why oven drying is not recommended. For the fruit leathers, like I said, you can, the microwave, I wouldn't recommend doing fruit leathers in the microwave, but the dehydrator, the oven, and I don't recommend sun drying either. Now, there's some places in the U.S. sun drying works wonderfully because they're just not as humid as we are in North Carolina. So with drying in the sun, it just doesn't work well because the humidity is so high. Now, if you use the dehydrator, it's going to take about 6 hours, 4 to 6 hours. If you're using an electric dehydrator, you want to follow your manufacturer's directions, and this one works really well, but you don't have to have a dehydrator this big. This is a big one. I think of maybe 2 times with pears when we have a pear tree, and when we were drying all the pears, I did use all of the trays, filled up all of the trays. But that's like one of the few times. Most of the time I only use like maybe 4 or 5 trays because this is such a big dehydrator. They have smaller ones that work really well also. You might have seen the circular ones. Those are great for if you're doing fruit leathers, for drying all types of things. But just know, you don't need a dehydrator this big, okay? Let's see. You can, for drying the types of fruit, making fruit leathers that you can dry, you can make it from fresh. You can use fresh fruit. You can use frozen fruit. And of course, I always have a visitor in here whenever you can use fresh fruit. You can use frozen. You can use canned fruit. Now, if you're using fresh fruit, you want really ripe to slightly overripe fruit to make your fruit leathers, because usually people want their fruit leathers what? They want them sweet. So that's why you want to use really ripe to overripe fruit. Now, commercially purchased processed fruit, meaning, and I'm going to show you some of the cheats that I did. Those are fine also. You can use, commercially bought applesauce. The applesauce cups, if you have those, that's a great way to try this out. It'll work wonderfully. So you can use those. Now, roughly you're going to need 2 cups of, if you want to cover an entire tray like this, you're going to need about 2 cups of fruit. Now, the fruit leathers, I made a couple of fruit leathers. I'm going to let you see. I didn't use 2 cups of fruit. You can see I didn't cover the entire tray. What I wound up using for this were these little pureed fruit sauce packets. So this one I thought was really, really nice. There's all different types of brands. And if kids like to, suck the sauce out of these packets, I was thinking if these are popular, this is probably a really popular way also. So for here, this packet is 3.17 ounces, a little over 3 ounces, and It is the only thing that was in here was this is the apple and banana one. So it 50 calories for this, and the only thing in the package was apples, bananas, and a little bit of citric acid. It turned out great. So I'll peel it off and let you see. What it looks like. There we go. Oh, I didn't mean to tear it there. And then here you got a fruit leather. So when you're drying your fruit, it's going to be soft and pliable. It's not going to be crisp. Okay, so this one folds up. It's going to roll up. All of that. So that's what you're looking for. If you have dried your fruit and you've noticed that it's got moist spots, just put it back in the dehydrator. It's not dry enough yet. So this is pretty much what you're looking for. Nice, soft, pliable. Now, fruit leathers, like I said, with this, only thing that was in here was apples and banana. I did another one. I have another one. I think this one might be, I don't know if this is the apple or banana. I did apple mango also. And again, it was just apples, mangoes, and some citric acid. But the fruit leathers can be sweetened. That's up to you. I have some strawberry jam that I canned a little while ago, and that would work on here also. But I'm thinking that really would be like candy if I decided to dehydrate, if I decided to dry that. Now, if you're sweetening it, honey or corn syrup work better than sugar for long-term storage, because the honey and the corn syrup aren't going to form the crystals. They won't form sugar crystals. And so that's going to keep it where it stays nice and pliable, and it's just going to be a better quality and a better consistency. So you want to just go ahead and use the honey or corn syrup. And adding lemon juice, that was one of the things. This had citric acid added to it, so that's going to affect the color. That's going to keep it, just a nice color. It'll keep it from darkening. So that's what the citric. So if you add a little bit of lemon juice or a little bit of citric acid, it's going to prevent it from darkening. So making it, like I said, with this, I use the pouches for this, but I'm going to make a fruit leather. But instead of using one of these pouches, I'm going to use some apple butter. I canned, what is this, 812. I canned this last August. So this is what we're going to make it out of. Now, I said it takes 2 cups in order to fill this entire tray, but I'm only going to use, I don't can it, and I did half pints, I didn't can any pints, so we're going to use 1 cup, and I'm going to see if I can get this lid off and not have to go grab my lid. It worked. And this is apple butter, and go ahead and put that on the tray. And what you want to do, you want to spread it out to about 1/8 inch thickness. I like to start it with a spoon, because the spoon, instead of just tapping it, because I'm going to show you a tap method I use, but if you don't use the spoon to spread it out, you might get an odd shape, which is fine, but I like the nice circle shape, because once you are ready to roll it up and store it, is just I just like how it looks. It's aesthetics. It really is aesthetics. So once you get that there, I like to tap it out. So gently, because it helps it to spread. You don't want it too thick. You're trying to get it as even as possible. And just, I hope this isn't too loud over the speakers. I'm sorry. But just go ahead and tap it out. I want this a little bit thinner. I see where I have some really high spots. And these little pouches, they took a little over 4 hours. This is probably going to take longer for 2 reasons. I have more than twice the amount on the tray, so it's going to take a little bit longer for it to dehydrate. And then the apple butter is a little bit thicker. Now, if you have, like I said, you could do this with chunky applesauce. You could do it with regular applesauce. If you use the chunky applesauce, go ahead and puree it. Give it a buzz, and knock down those chunks, and then go ahead and spread it on your tray. So this is, if you notice, I don't know if I can show this to you on the calendar, on the computer, but the reason I tap out, if you see those, you see the little wells, you don't want those there. You don't want those really shallow spots. So go ahead and tap it out to get rid of those shallow spots. You're trying to keep this as even as possible. Shake it out, and you're looking, this is about looking right. Got a couple of shallow spots. Fill those in. And I've got a couple of thick spots. So I just want to get it as even as possible. There we go. All right, this is looking good. So, there we go. So we're going to put this into the dehydrator. All right. Here's my other one. I'm not sure. I made a few. Oh, here we go. So this was the one, the apple mango, and you can see with the apple mango, this one's a little glossy, and that's what I wanted to show you. See how it's a little tacky? And so what I'm going to do with this, whereas this one, if you can see, there's no tackiness. It's dry, completely dry. But with this one, since it has, you can't see the gloss on it, but I can see where there's still moisture there. So what I'm going to do is, this will go back into the dehydrator. And I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe 30, I don't even know if it'll take 30 minutes to get rid of that extra moisture from it. But you want to make sure that they're completely dry before you get ready to store them. Okay, so this one we peeled off for storage. I'll show you. Easy way to store. I had to slip off and get some plastic wrap real quick. But how I store them, I go ahead and put the plastic wrap, fold it a little bit over the edge so that you catch it, and roll it up. Okay? So then you have it, and great for traveling, and then you're just going to peel it off the plastic. This way it's not stuck to itself, and you know you wind up tearing it up. So let's see. Now, let's see. Okay, I showed you how to do this in the dehydrator. I wanted to point something out. Normally your dehydrator tray, if you go buy a dehydrator, it's going to come with your tray, and it's going to come with this mesh, you know, for air to get completely through to aid in dehydrating. You don't want it's not going to be solid. But if you're doing fruit leathers, obviously you can't dry in this, because what's going to happen? It's going to seep through. So that's where you're going to need these little sheets, these non-stick sheets. These are specifically designed for doing fruit leathers, and you might purchase a dehydrator where these sheets come with it. This one, it did not. I had to get the sheets separately. But sometimes dehydrators come with the sheets in order to make your fruit leather. So make sure if you want to make them, you're going to need this to dehydrate on. Now, you can do it in the oven. If you're going to do it in the oven, the oven needs to be at its lowest setting, 140 degrees. Now, most ovens, at the lowest setting I've seen on newer modern ovens is 170 degrees. So that's hot for dehydrating. You might have parts that, you know, cook, you know, they're really getting brittle, where you have other parts they're not ready yet. So you want to do this at 140, so it might necessitate you leaving the oven door open if you have a 170-degree oven, cracking the door. That means that obviously this is not something that you want to do during the summertime. That's, you're going to be really heating up the kitchen if you have your oven set for 170 and then you opening the door in order to let heat escape. But like I said, you can do this. Recommendations for doing that would be parchment paper works really, really great for you to spread your fruit puree for dehydrating. You can do it on parchment papers. In a cooler oven, you can use these as well. These sheets will work. You put it on the cookie tray and go ahead. But you just need something. If you have a silpat or some kind of nonstick mat that goes in the oven, those will all work for you to dehydrate your fruit leathers on. Okay, so let's see. Storage. I showed you where we can we wrap this up at room temperature. These are good for a month, so you can store these for 1 month at room temperature. They will keep indefinitely in the freezer, but for best quality, 1 year in the freezer. They keep very well. So like I said, you can use, if you made applesauce or any of your fruit, you can use jam. Jam will work also. Like I said, super sweet though. It's going to be a really sweet fruit roll up. But you can use applesauce. You can cheat and get the little fruit pouches. You can use applesauce out of the jar. You can get the little fruit cups. And the nice thing about, these are all portion controlled, so you know exactly what you're going to get in here. The only thing that's going to escape is the water. So these are a good option. You're going to have a link to the National Center for Home Food Preservation and to look at how to make fruit leathers at home. Also, there's going to be a link to the applesauce recipe if you decide, I want to make my own applesauce. I want to dehydrate some of it as well. So that will all be in there. So that's it. I'm looking at some of the questions. Let's see. Julie asked about the sauerkraut. Did you take the weights out to skim? Yeah, I did take the weights out of there so that I could, and like I said, mine wasn't on the surface of the sauerkraut. For some reason, I kept getting stuff along the walls. But I would remove the weights, remove everything on the walls. If I see that I thought, there was a little bit of yeast on little pieces of sauerkraut, I would pull those out and get rid of them. Let's see, what does the research say about dehydrating fully cooked poultry? Yeah, you can. That's one of the things that you would have to do. You would have to cook the poultry first, and then you would have to dehydrate it, because dehydrators, with poultry, 165 degrees is the minimal temperature for cooking poultry, and for dehydrators, you want to dehydrate at 140 degrees. So yes, you can do fully cooked poultry. You can't do raw poultry. Now, with meat, we're going to go in. I think I have a session on jerky. I have to go take a look and see on the schedule where that is. If it's not there, I'll add it, because I know next week we're going to dehydrate vegetables. So if I don't have jerky the following week, I'll add doing jerky the following week, and I can go over all the tips, because there's certain things that you need to do when you're doing meat. Like you said, with if you want to make like turkey jerky, but if you want to use like any type of poultry, it's going to be cooked food. So we'll go over all of that. Let me see if there's any other questions. I have to scroll down. Let's see. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so I gave it away. Next week I'm going to talk about drying vegetables. So that's going to be a good one, and it's a little bit different process what you're looking for dried vegetables than you are with the fruit leathers. But we'll go over that. And thank you for joining me Wednesday Stash, and I look forward to speaking to you next week. Thanks. Bye.